I'm a 34-year-old male and have been working at my dad's plumbing company, Taylor & Sons Plumbing, for 15 years. The sons part is supposed to include me and my younger brother, Matt, a 31-year-old male. In reality, it's more like Taylor and his favorite son, with the other one doing all the work. Here's some background. My dad started this company about 30 years ago. It's a classic small business story he began with just himself and a van. Now, we have 15 plumbers and 3 office staff, and we're one of the bigger plumbing outfits in our city. I'm not being conceited when I say a lot of that growth happened after I joined. After high school, I went to college for business management, earning a 4-year degree. Meanwhile, my brother Matt barely graduated high school and took 6 years to get a 2-year degree from community college. While I was studying, he was posting gym selfies and partying through the local bar scene. When I graduated, I came straight back home to join the family business. Dad made a big deal about how I needed to learn from the ground up, so I spent 3 years as a plumber's assistant, unclogging toilets, crawling under houses, and dealing with other people's messes. Fine, I get it. You can't manage plumbers if you don't know what they do. I worked my way up, got my master plumber's license, which is a huge pain, by the way, and learned scheduling, inventory, and all the boring but essential stuff that makes a business function. I put in 60-hour weeks for years, missed my friends' weddings because of emergency calls, and didn't date for about 5 years because who has the time? About 5 years ago, I finally made operations manager. I started implementing systems I'd been planning, digital scheduling, better inventory management, and follow-up calls after jobs. Our reviews went from 3.5 stars to 4.8. Revenue increased by 40% in 2 years. Dad actually seemed impressed for once. Then my brother Matt, who had been bouncing between bartending and finding himself, suddenly decided he wanted in on the family business. Keep in mind, this guy has never shown any interest in plumbing. He couldn't tell you the difference between PVC and copper pipe and thinks a P-trap is something you catch animals with. But Dad was thrilled. His golden boy was finally joining the family legacy. Dad gave him a made-up title like Director of Client Relations with a salary that's about 80% of mine, even though I've been there a decade longer. Matt got an office with a window, while I'm still in a converted closet next to the bathroom. Matt's job? Taking clients to lunch, posting on our social media, and occasionally showing up at job sites to take pictures of our plumbers working, always making sure to get himself in the shot looking like he's supervising. He strolls in at 10 in the morning, takes 2-hour lunches, and leaves by 4 because of traffic. At every staff meeting, Dad praises Matt for bringing in some tiny contract while completely ignoring that I just streamlined our entire billing system and saved us $50,000 a year. It's like I'm invisible. There was this one time when I spent weeks putting together a bid for a huge commercial job, the biggest contract we'd ever gone after. I'm talking about a binder-thick proposal. I even pulled an all-nighter to get it done. On the day of the meeting, Dad brought Matt along. Matt, who hadn't read a single page of the proposal, who was hungover and kept going to the bathroom, and who called the client's building that big place with the sign during the meeting. We somehow got the contract anyway because my numbers were solid. On the way back, Dad couldn't stop talking about how Matt really connected with their team, and how his people skills sealed the deal. My contribution? Dad said my attention to detail was helpful, like I was the office assistant. Moms know better. When I try to talk to her about it, she gives me this sad look and says things like, "You and your brother are just different kinds of people," or "Not everyone can be as organized as you are," as if being competent is a character flaw. One day, I overheard Dad talking to Matt in his office. The door wasn't fully closed. Dad was going on about succession planning, saying things like, "When you take over the company," and asking Matt if he wanted to start learning about the financial side. My name didn't come up once. Not even as, "Maybe your brother can help you with the accounting." The company I've helped build, the company I've given my entire adult life to, and I'm not even considered a potential future owner. Just the workhorse who keeps things running while Matt gets the glory. I kept my head down and got the work done. It wasn't like I could do anything about it. About 9 months ago, our admin assistant quit. She'd been with us for about 5 years but got a better offer somewhere else. Dad decided we needed to hire someone with more office management experience since we were growing. Enter Julie, a 29-year-old female. The minute she walked through the door for her interview, something clicked for me. She had this confident walk, dark hair always in a neat bun, and green eyes that seemed to see through all the fake corporate nonsense. She wasn't one of those Instagram model types that Matt usually goes for, but she was beautiful in a classy, put-together way. Her resume was impressive: a business degree, experience managing offices for companies much bigger than ours, and all kinds of certifications in accounting software. Dad was impressed enough to hire her on the spot, which he never does. Her first week, she completely reorganized our filing system, which hadn't been touched since the 90s. The second week, she found about $20,000 in overlooked billing from the previous year and got it collected. The third week, she stood up to my dad about our prehistoric scheduling system and convinced him to invest in the software I'd been begging for years. I was basically in love. We started grabbing lunch together in the break room. At first, we just talked about work stuff, but then we discovered we both liked the same true crime podcasts. I found out she loves hiking, which I do too. Then it was movies, books, and all that stuff. It was so easy talking to her. Not like those awkward Tinder dates where you're trying to think of something to say. After a couple of months of the lunch thing, I finally worked up the courage to ask her out for real, like dinner on Friday night at that new Thai place downtown, not the break room with our sad Tupperware lunches. She said yes right away, smiling in a way that made me feel like maybe I wasn't just the family doormat. We set it up for the following Friday. I was stupidly excited, even caught myself whistling while fixing a sink at one site, which definitely confused the apprentice working with me. I didn't tell anyone at work about our date plans. My family has a special talent for ruining anything good that happens to me, so I figured I'd keep it quiet until things got more serious. Big mistake. 2 days before our date, I'm coming back from a job and I hear Julie laughing in the hallway, that genuine laugh I'd been working for weeks to earn. But she wasn't laughing at something I said. She was laughing at something Matt said. I rounded the corner to see them standing way too close to each other by the coffee machine. Matt doing his signature lean against the wall, look how cool I am pose. He was showing her something on his phone, and she was actually interested in whatever garbage he was spewing. "Hey, Ryan," Matt called out when he saw me, using that fake brotherly voice he uses when other people are around. "Just showing Julie those kayaking pics from last weekend." "Kayaking?" "Matt, the guy who complains if he has to walk from his car to a restaurant when it's drizzling? The guy who once asked me if the river near our house had those fish things in it. Since when does he kayak?" Julie smiled at me, but it wasn't the same smile. It was just polite, professional, the kind you give your coworker, not the guy you're about to go on a date with. My stomach dropped. "They're amazing photos," Julie said, turning back to Matt. "I've always wanted to try kayaking, but never had the chance." "You should come with me sometime," Matt said, flashing that stupid smile that somehow works on women. "I go most weekends when the weather's good. Very peaceful out on the water." This dude has never gone kayaking in his life. The closest he's gotten to a water sport is drinking beer on someone's boat. But there he was, Mr. Outdoorsy all of a sudden. "That would be amazing," Julie said, and she actually meant it. I could tell. She turned to me. "Ryan, I didn't know your brother was so into outdoor activities." "Neither did I muttered. But they were already back to scrolling through his phone, which I guarantee had stock photos of kayaks or pictures he found online. The next day, Julie caught me in the break room alone. My heart jumped a little, thinking maybe the Matt interaction was nothing. About Friday she started, and I immediately knew what was coming. "I'm really sorry, but I need to reschedule. Something came up." Something came up is the universal code, for I found a better offer, and in this case, the better offer was clearly my brother. "No problem," I said, trying to sound casual. "Maybe another time." "Definitely," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. The kind of smile that says this is never happening. Sure enough, I found out later through office gossip that Julie and Matt had their first date that Friday. The same day she was supposed to go out with me, at the same Thai restaurant I'd planned to take her to. The next week was torture. Matt strutting around the office like he'd won the lottery, Julie blushing every time he walked. By her desk, the whispered conversations that stopped when I entered the room, and Matt casually mentioning their date in the staff meeting. I felt like garbage. Every time I try to build something for myself, Matt swoops in and takes it over, like it was never mine to begin with. And of course, it got worse. Mom caught wind of it immediately because Matt tells her everything. She called that weekend, all excited. "Have you met this Julie that Matthew is seeing? He says she's just wonderful, so accomplished and pretty. She works at your office." "She's our office manager," I said flatly. "Well, isn't that nice?" "Matthew says she's very smart. Organized, too. Sounds like she and Matthew have so much in common." "They have nothing in common except maybe existing on the same planet, but sure, Mom, they're soulmates." Actually, Mom, Julie, and I were supposed to go out first. I asked her out, and she said yes, but then Matt swooped in. There was a long pause, and I could practically hear Mom trying to process this information in a way that didn't make her precious Matthew look bad. "Well, sweetie, you know how these things go. Sometimes people just connect. Matthew has always been so charming with the ladies. You're more, well, focused on work, serious. Not everyone appreciates that like they should." She basically said, "Matt's hot and fun, you're boring, deal with it." So that's how it started, Matt and Julie, the new power couple of Taylor and Sons Plumbing. But the worst part wasn't even losing Julie. It was watching her slowly realize who Matt really was and pretending not to see it. The first time he flaked on plans with her because his buddies invited him to a last-minute poker game. The time she overheard him exaggerating, straight up lying, about his role in the company to a client. The time she had to cover for him when he was supposed to attend a networking event but was too hungover to show up. I could see the confusion on her face, the mental gymnastics, as she tried to reconcile the Matt she thought she was dating with the actual Matt. But by then, they were official, and she was in too deep. Plus, my family had circled the wagons around them. Mom invited Julie to Sunday dinner just 3 weeks after they started dating. "It'll be nice to have a fresh face," she said. Like our weekly family dinners weren't already painful enough, without adding my work crush who'd chosen my brother over me. I almost skipped that dinner, but Dad made it clear it wasn't optional. Family dinner is family dinner, Ryan, be there. So I went. And it was exactly the nightmare you'd expect. Mom pulling out all the stops with her best china and a fancy roast. Dad telling work stories that made Matt sound like some kind of business prodigy. Matt performing his perfect son-boyfriend routine. Pulling out Julie's chair, refilling her water glass, and telling completely made-up stories about his adventurous weekends and charity work. Julie ate it all up, laughing at Matt's jokes and asking him questions about his fake hiking trips, while I sat there knowing, for a fact, that the closest Matt gets to outdoor adventure is when he has to park at the far end of the mall parking lot. I tried to join the conversation, mentioning the hiking trail Julie and I had talked about over those break room lunches, just to let him know what he ruined. "Oh, Matt was just telling me about that place," Julie exclaimed, turning to him excitedly. "You've been there too?" "Been there?" Matt laughed. "I practically live on that trail in the summer." "Sure he does. He's suddenly Bear Grylls. That dinner was 6 months ago. They've been officially dating ever since. Anyway, I focused on myself and tried to adapt to it, praying for things to get better for me one day. I don't actually care about the stuff that slips out of my hand. I knew good things would come. About a month after that dinner, I finally got promoted to senior operations manager after 15 years of killing myself for this company. This was supposed to be a big deal, more responsibility, better pay, and, most importantly, the company vehicle. Nothing fancy, just a new Ford F-250 with all the towing capacity we need for hauling equipment to job sites. Dad made a big announcement at our monthly staff meeting. After years of dedicated service, Ryan is being promoted to senior operations manager. This comes with a nice raise in the new company truck we just purchased. Well-deserved, son. For once, I felt like my work was actually being recognized. I even let myself get excited about having a decent vehicle for the first time in my life, instead of my rusted-out Chevy that's held together with duct tape and prayers. Fast forward to Sunday dinner. Mom's making her famous pot roast, Dad's talking about some client, Matt's got his arm around Julie as usual, and I'm just trying to get through the meal without saying something I'll regret. Then Dad clears his throat and puts down his fork. "I've got an announcement to make," he says, and I immediately tense up because in my family, announcements are never good news for me. Matt and Julie exchange this look, and I just know what's coming. "We're engaged," Julie says, holding out her left hand with a massive diamond ring that probably costs more than my yearly salary. Mom bursts into tears, happy ones. Dad starts clapping Matt on the back. I'm sitting there in shock, my fork frozen halfway to my mouth. "This is wonderful news," Dad booms. "My boy's finally settling down, starting a family." Then he drops the real bomb. "Matt, I think you and your future bride could use that new truck more than the company could. Consider it an engagement present. You'll need a good family vehicle now." Matt does this fake surprised face, like this wasn't his plan all along. "Wow, Dad, that's so generous." I finally found my voice. "Dad, that truck is supposed to be part of my promotion package. I need it for work, for actual company business." Dad waves his hand dismissively. "Now, Ryan, don't be selfish. Your brother's starting a family. Family comes first. You can keep using your old truck for now. It still runs, doesn't it?" "Barely," I said, but nobody's listening. They're all busy congratulating the happy couple, talking about wedding plans and future grandkids. That was it, the final straw, the moment I knew I was done with this family business forever. Rage was bubbling up. I was fuming, but somehow managed to drive home in my piece of crap truck, which decided to make a concerning rattling noise the whole way, just to really drive home the point that it was on its last legs. Perfect timing. I got home and completely lost it. 15 years of loyalty, hard work, and sacrifice. 15 years of watching Matt coast through life on charm and Dad's favoritism while I actually built something valuable, something profitable, something that was apparently just handed away again to my brother. And now Julie, the one good thing that had happened to me in years, was also handed to Matt on a silver platter, complete with an engagement ring and my company truck. I don't think I've ever been that angry in my life. It wasn't even hot, explosive anger. It was this cold, calculated fury where suddenly everything became crystal clear. I was never going to be valued in this family. I was never going to get what I deserved. I was just the workhorse, the reliable one they could dump on while the golden boy got all the rewards. I grabbed my laptop and opened my email, stared at the blank compose window for about 10 seconds, then just started typing. Subject line, my resignation. Dad, effective immediately. I am resigning from Taylor & Sons Plumbing. Consider this my 2 weeks' notice, although, frankly, you'll be lucky if I last out the week. I will be pursuing other opportunities. Sincerely, not really, Ryan Taylor. I hit send before I could chicken out. Then I sent a separate email to our HR person, who's really just the bookkeeper who handles payroll, about my accrued vacation time, saying I'll be taking it effective immediately. I was not setting foot in that office again. Within minutes, my phone started blowing up. Dad calling, Matt texting nothing but WTF and stupid emojis, Mom leaving tearful voicemails about tearing the family apart and being dramatic. Julie called too. I let that one go to voicemail. Ryan, it's Julie. Your dad told me you quit. What's going on? Please call me back. Like she didn't know, like she hadn't been part of this whole mess. I ignored all of them, turned off my phone, and started updating my resume. I was done with them, done with being the family workhorse, done with watching Matt get everything handed to him while I worked myself to death for scraps of recognition. Dad showed up at my apartment the next morning at 7 a.m, pounding on the door like he was trying to break it down. What the hell, Ryan? He yelled when I finally opened it, still in my pajamas and not at all ready for this confrontation. Quitting over email after everything this family has done for you? I actually laughed in his face. Done for me? You mean like paying me less than market rate for 15 years while Matt gets bonuses for showing up to work? Or like promising me a company vehicle as part of my promotion and then giving it to Matt as an engagement present? That's different, Dad sputtered, his face getting red. Matt's starting a family. He needs our support. And I don't? I've supported this entire family for years. Who do you think keeps the business running while Matt's out taking 2-hour lunches and posting on Instagram? Dad's face got even redder. Don't talk about your brother that way. Matt brings in clients. He's the face of the company. And I'm what? The workhorse? The sucker who actually does the work while Matt gets all the credit? I'm done, Dad. Let Matt handle your business. You don't need me anyway. I started to close the door, but Dad stuck his foot in the way. Classic. You walk away from this company, you walk away from this family, he said, all dramatic, like we're in some bad TV show. If this is how family treats each other, then maybe that's for the best. I shot back and pushed the door hard enough that he had to move his foot. He kept pounding and yelling for a while, but eventually gave up and left. The next day, Matt showed up. I didn't even open the door, just yelled through it that he should leave before I called the cops. He tried the whole, come on, bro, don't be like that routine, but I wasn't having it. Mom kept calling, crying about how I was breaking your father's heart and tearing the family apart, as if I was the problem here. As if 15 years of favoritism and disrespect were somehow my fault. I've never felt so free in my life. The job hunt was surprisingly easy. I had 3 interviews that first week, all with companies bigger and more professional than my dad's outfit. 2 of them made offers. I took the job with Wilson Plumbing and Heating, a competitor across town. They're smaller but growing fast, and the owner, Dave Wilson, actually values experience and hard work. Novel concept, right? Best part, they offered me a partnership track in writing. After 2 years, I'll have the option to buy in and become part owner, something my dad never even considered offering me despite 15 years of service. Oh, and they gave me a company truck, a brand new Ford F-350 Super Duty, better than the one Dad took from me, fully loaded with the company logo on the side and everything. I made sure to drive it past my parents' house my first week. Petty? Yeah. Satisfying? Absolutely. Meanwhile, the Taylor & Sons empire is apparently crumbling without me. I've been getting texts from some of the plumbers who were actually decent guys. The stories are better than any revenge fantasy I could have dreamed up. The first week after I left, Dad tried to handle operations himself. The problem is, he hasn't actually done that job in about 15 years and had no clue how my scheduling system worked. He ended up double booking 3 different crews on the same day, then had no one available for an emergency call at the hospital, a major account that I personally handled for years. They were not happy. The second week, Dad put Matt in charge of operations. Matt, the guy who can't even remember to schedule his own dental appointments. Predictably, it was a total disaster. According to my buddy Steve, one of our senior plumbers, Matt showed up late every day, spent most of his time on the phone with Julie or his buddies, and couldn't answer basic questions about job specifications. They lost one of our second biggest commercial client contracts completely because Matt forgot to submit the renewal paperwork. That account was worth about $50,000 a year. Gone because Matt was too busy posting gym selfies or whatever he does all day. The scheduling is such a mess that they've had to call clients the night before to reschedule, which is making everyone furious. Their online reviews have dropped from 4.8 stars to 3.2 in 3 weeks. Dad's apparently blaming the new system, my system, not the idiots trying to run it. One of the office staff quit because Matt kept blaming her for his mistakes. The accounts receivable is piling up because no one's staying on top of invoicing. Another thing I handled that apparently no one knew about. But what I didn't expect is that Dad had to take out a short-term loan to cover payroll because their cash flow is so messed up. The business that was solidly profitable 3 weeks ago is now scrambling to stay afloat. Julie's apparently staying late every night, trying to keep things running, but she's an office manager, not an operations specialist. She can organize files and answer phones all day long, but she doesn't know the first thing about scheduling plumbing jobs or managing a crew of 15 plumbers with different skills and certifications. She didn't know what she was getting into with my family. Made your bed, lie in it, right? Mom's been texting me non-stop, increasingly desperate messages. Your father's working 16-hour days trying to sort out the schedule. Matt's really trying, but he doesn't understand your system. We had to tell 3 clients we can't get to them this week. Notice how none of these messages include an actual apology or admission that they screwed up. Classic Taylor family. Dad left me exactly 1 voicemail, slurring his words like he'd been drinking. This business was fine before your fancy systems, and it'll be fine after. You think you're irreplaceable? No one's irreplaceable. Yeah, Dad, keep telling yourself that while your business circles the drain. Matt's messages have evolved from fake brotherly concern, "Hey bro, everyone's worried about you," to thinly veiled panic. "Do you still have the login for the scheduling software?" Dad can't find it, to outright desperation. "Seriously, dude, just tell me how you handled the Henderson specs." Their project manager is freaking out. The only one who hasn't reached out much is Julie. She sent 1 email to my personal account about a week after I left. It was long, full of explanations about how she never meant to hurt me and how things with Matt just happened, and she hoped we could still be friends. At the very end, almost like an afterthought, was, "If you have time, could you possibly write up how you handled the scheduling? We're having some issues." I deleted it without responding. Not my circus, not my monkeys. Oh, and the truck? Apparently, it's making a weird noise, according to Matt's latest text. He actually had the balls to ask if I could come look at it. The truck that should have been mine. The truck that was part of my promotion but got handed to him as an engagement present. I laughed out loud and deleted it without responding. Not my truck. Not my problem. Meanwhile, I've been at Wilson for 2 weeks now, and it's like I've entered some parallel universe where competence is actually valued. Dave asks for my input on operations. My ideas get implemented instead of ignored. The other employees respect me because of my experience, not because I'm the boss's son. Yesterday, I completely redesigned their service call routing system, and Dave was so impressed he gave me a bonus on the spot, a bonus for doing my job well. What a concept. About a week into my new job, I met someone too, Kate. She's an architect I met on a job site where we're doing the plumbing for a new office building. She's smart, funny, direct, not playing any games or putting on airs. Kate's nothing like Julie. Where Julie was always polished and proper, Kate's real. She shows up to dates in jeans and boots, can talk sports as easily as she talks design, and calls me out on my nonsense in the most refreshing way. She doesn't play games or tell me what I want to hear. With Kate, what you see is what you get. On our 3rd date, we went hiking to this waterfall I'd been wanting to check out for years, just 2 people genuinely enjoying each other's company. I showed her some of the desperate texts from my family, and she just shook her head. They had gold and treated it like dirt. Their loss, my gain. Then she kissed me, and I forgot all about the family business for the rest of the day, maybe for months as well. This weekend, Kate and I were at the hardware store, grabbing stuff for my bathroom remodel, when I spotted them, Matt and Julie. Great, just when I was enjoying a normal Saturday with my girlfriend. Kate squeezed my hand when Julie noticed us and called out. Matt turned around, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Hey bro," I kept it brief. Julie's eyes immediately went to Kate, then our joined hands. "How have you been?" "Good. Really good." "This is Kate," I said, introducing them, watching Julie size her up. Kate, absolute champion that she is, smiled and shook their hands. "Nice to meet you both. I've heard a lot about you." The look of panic on Matt's face? Priceless. Renovating Ryan's bathroom, Kate explained when Julie asked about our supplies. "I'm an architect, handling the design." "An architect?" "That's impressive," Julie said, looking suddenly self-conscious. "I'm an office manager at my family's company," I added, because why not twist the knife a little? Turns out, they were there because of the truck. You know, it kept making weird noises and Matt was clueless about how to fix it. I couldn't resist. The company truck? The one that was supposed to be mine? Matt had the decency to look embarrassed. Yeah, that one. He didn't even regret what he had done. Kate, ever the pro, smoothly created an exit strategy with some fake dinner reservations. As we turned to leave, Julie hesitated. Can I have a moment alone? Kate gave me a questioning look, but I nodded. She squeezed my hand before stepping aside. Julie sighed, looking more tired than I'd ever seen her. The engagement? We're taking it slow. Translation, Matt's true colors were showing. The business? Not the same without you. Apparently, they'd hired 2 people to replace me, and they were still falling behind. Matt? Different since you left. Yeah, actually having to work for once in his life will do that, I said. She shifted awkwardly, tucking her hair behind her ear. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry for coming between you and your brother. I almost laughed, not in a mean way, but in a wow, you really didn't get it way. Julie, you weren't the problem. You were just a symptom of a much bigger issue. My family never valued me. The truck? That was just the final straw. She chewed her lip, glancing toward Kate. She seems nice. You two look good together. We are, I said without hesitation. She sees me for who I am. Julie nodded, like she understood, but I wasn't sure she fully did. Either way, I wasn't sticking around to explain. While driving home, my phone rang. Mom. I don't know why I answered. She sounded shocked that I picked up but recovered quickly, launching straight into the guilt trip. They miss me. The business is struggling. Matt is overwhelmed. Sunday dinners aren't the same without me. I let her ramble, waiting for the inevitable request. You should come by soon. Maybe we can figure things out. I'm busy every Sunday for the foreseeable future, I told her, keeping my voice level. Kate, overhearing from the passenger seat, smirked. Want me to say I told you so, or would you prefer to just bask in the schadenfreude? Definitely basking, I said, grinning. Later that night, as we lay tangled on the couch watching some random true crime documentary, Kate glanced at me. Would you ever consider going back to the family business? I didn't even have to think about it. Not even for a second. She smiled, satisfied with that answer. I don't know what'll happen with Taylor and Sons Plumbing. Maybe they'll figure it out. Maybe they'll crash and burn. Either way, it's not my problem. What I do know is that sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away from people who don't value you, even if they're family, especially if they're family. It took me 15 years in a company truck to learn that lesson. Better late than never.